Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to News Dose. So, today Xbox and Bethesda, they dropped a new trailer for one of their upcoming games being Redfall, which continues to look better and better every single time we see it. But then it kind of got me to thinking, over the next 12 months, Bethesda has some big plans for Xbox. They do actually have 4 AAA games coming here sometime soon, all of which will release directly into Xbox Game Pass, so I thought we'd kind of go over that today and their newest gameplay trailer. Also, the mystery of God of War Ragnarok continues as the rumored June announcement was supposedly delayed. Yeah, this has been just an overall odd month for God of War Ragnarok, so I guess this was rather fitting, and we'll talk about that one as well. First though, before we get started, go ahead and hit that bell notification and subscribe button below. I truly do appreciate it. Right now we are closing in on that 50,000 subscriber mark, so let's go and get that ball rolling and reach that 50,000 milestone together. Truly, you all are just absolutely awesome, but with that said, let's just go and get right into the video, starting off with Halo Infinite. Yeah, I do have some good news today for Halo Infinite, as 343 over on Halo Waypoint just announced new details for the long-awaited online cooperative campaign mode. I know some of you all out there have refused to play Halo Infinite single player until you can play it with your friends, and well, we're almost there. They are dropping an online co-op beta which will start on July 11th and go through July 22nd. This will include 4-player co-op that is completely cross-play with Xbox, PC, and yes, even xCloud. So that's absolutely fantastic, and even better, progress is not tied to just the fireteam leader. Each person's progress will be saved individually, which is exactly what you want to hear. And that's kind of where Mission Replay comes in, which they also announced today. This was a very requested feature upon launch, but now Halo Infinite will be more in line with previous Halo games where you can go back and replay missions anytime you want by yourself or with friends. So everything's really starting to come together now for Halo Infinite's single player. Now, however, keep in mind that this is just a beta, so there are some caveats here. Don't worry though, nothing really too bad or anything like that, but if you're on Xbox consoles or on Xbox Game Pass, you will need to join the Xbox Insider program. As for PC players, you need to sign up for Halo Insiders, and this does need to be done by July 5th. So go ahead and make sure to do that if you want to play in the cooperative beta starting again on July 11th, running through the 22nd. Once you're in though, keep in mind that your progress will not transfer over to the final game, but for the time being, you will be able to play through the entire campaign during this beta, and with this running for 11 days, I do imagine that will be plenty of time for a lot of fans out there. Either way though, I mean, the good news here is that Halo Infinite's online cooperative mode is sounding pretty good right now, and actually well thought out. Next up though, let's go and talk about Nintendo, as a shareholder during their annual general meeting asked them if they would consider making sequels or remakes for some of their dormant IP from franchises such as F-Zero or Wario Land. Yeah, this shareholder is asking the million-dollar question that we're all kind of wondering, and, well, they actually did get a response, as you can see here. Nintendo replied by saying it is realistically difficult to develop new titles and remakes, including sequels, for every Nintendo game that people request, but we are very grateful and appreciate the expectations our fans have for our games. We are always considering how to develop new titles and remakes that can be enjoyed by many players. So, that doesn't necessarily seem overly promising, but they did continue on to say this, which I do think is rather interesting. During the 79th Ordinary General Meeting of Shareholders in 2019, we were asked if there were any plans to remake the Famicom Detective Club series, and at the time, we happened to be planning a remake. That is an example where we were already actively developing such a title. We cannot tell you if there are any plans for future remakes of any specific game, but during development, we are always thinking about various possibilities that players can enjoy. Now, the reason that this is just so interesting is because it's more or less a word game. Words spoken between words. They don't flat out deny anything here, but instead, they actually made a point by using the example that back in 2019, they were asked a similar question about Famicom Detective Club. Well, apparently, they were actually remaking that game at the time, and it was later announced in 2021. So, even if they do have a remake or dormant IP in development, they're not necessarily going to announce it at a place like this. At most, they'll kind of give us coy hints, which is kind of what we're getting here, and that's kind of how I take this statement. It's almost like them saying, Yeah, we might have something, but you're going to have to wait until we're ready to announce it ourselves. For that matter, speaking of remakes, the big rumor right now is that a Metroid Prime remake will be releasing later this year in 2022, so we could get a more definitive answer sooner rather than later if that does turn out to be true. Now also, Xbox and Bethesda dropped some new details on Redfall today via a blog post and then also a trailer, and as I said earlier in the video, this game really continues to look better and better every single time we see it. It really looks like that classic arcane experience that fans just love so much from games like Prey and then Dishonored. That rich, single-player, story-driven experience that also gives a lot of freedom to players in how they want to play. And I think that that's kind of why they gave us some more information on this particular game today, because I do think that some people out there, they might believe that this is more of a cooperative focus game that's kind of like Left 4 Dead and games similar to that. Though Arcane, I mean, they have been very adamant about Redfall being a rich, single-player, story-driven experience that also is fun to play in cooperative. They really emphasized that today by highlighting it having that rich solo experience, and they even said in their blog post that, quote-unquote, a huge emphasis for Redfall has been its solo experience, in keeping with Arcane's passions. So I think with that said, that is absolutely fantastic news for fans hoping for that classic Arcane gameplay with, again, rich single player. They did also say that it has an open world and it does have some RPG-like elements to it, with you building out your characters the way you want to, and you can also customize your own loadouts. So, I mean, I really do think that this game looks great from all standpoints. I do like the art design. It looks super fun mechanically and with its abilities. And I also do love the idea of this being a vampire game. I've kind of said this before, but it's just a little bit different than a lot of other games in the market. You know, we get a lot of zombie games. I mean, a lot of zombie games, but fighting off vampires, this is just a little bit different, and I'm excited to see how creative they can get with that. Arcane, I mean, this is a very talented studio, so I'm very curious to see how this game turns out. And of course, this is a big Xbox game. Arcane now is a part of Bethesda, so this is a first-party title for Xbox, and it's going to launch day one into Xbox Game Pass. So that Bethesda acquisition is going to start paying off sometime here soon, and I'm not just talking about Redfall here either. Actually, it does appear that Bethesda has at least 4 major titles launching directly into Game Pass over the next 12 months. Redfall is planned to release in the first half of 2022, but interestingly enough, Arcane, they also have another game that's quietly coming to Xbox sometime here soon, possibly in just a few short months, being Deathloop. Deathloop released last year in September for the PlayStation 5 as a timed exclusive. Bethesda and Sony did sign a contract before Xbox acquired them, hence the timed exclusivity here. Supposedly, though, that exclusive deal ends in 12 months, which would be on September 14th, so theoretically, Deathloop could actually come over to Xbox as early as this September. Now, I'm not saying that it will come on that exact day, but this is a first-party game, so you can definitely bet that Xbox will be looking to get it on their platform as early as they possibly can. This is a very high-quality title, after all, with an 88 overall score on Metacritic, and it was actually one of the highest-rated games last year. And, of course, with it being a first-party title, it will launch directly into Game Pass. So yes, this is a huge title for Xbox. And also, a very similar situation falls to yet another Bethesda game, this time from Tango Gameworks. Ghostwire Tokyo was another one of those PlayStation 12-month timed exclusives, and that should end on March of 2023. So again, that could release on Xbox in the first half of next year. I think some people might have forgotten that these games are coming to Xbox because Microsoft legally can't really talk about them just yet, but I mean, I'm sure as soon as they possibly can, we're going to hear a lot about both of these games. And then obviously, the absolute behemoth here is none other than Starfield, Bethesda's next big RPG, the studio behind games such as Skyrim and Fallout 4, and this is their first new IP in decades. So yeah, there's a lot of excitement for this one, and that is another first half of 2023 release. So you can really start to see here that Bethesda acquisition is already starting to pay off in dividends for Microsoft. The fact that 4 big AAA games like this will launch directly into Xbox Game Pass in really a short period of time. I mean, Game Pass subscribers out there, yeah, you all are definitely getting your all's money worth here. Keep in mind, that's not even the entire lineup of Game Pass releases, even with their first party, because they also have games like Forza coming in next 12 months as well. Let's go talk about the elephant in the room, though, being God of War Ragnarok. All month long, we've talked about this game because there has been rumor after rumor of when this game will announce its exact official release date. Of course, it's being planned to release sometime in 2022, but gamers are getting a little bit anxious for more concrete details, which we'll actually get into more of the behavior side of this situation in just a moment. But this really all started earlier this month when a report made its way online that God of War Ragnarok was going to get delayed into 2023. Well, Jason Schreier quickly refuted that report and said that he had heard otherwise, and that in fact, he had heard that PlayStation was looking to announce its release date at the end of June. Well, since then, there's been rumors of a PlayStation State of Play that instead ended up being a showcase for Sony's new line of headsets and monitors, and then most recently, the Snitch leaked that an announcement was planned for June 30th. Now, this all kind of lined up with what Jason Schreier said, and, well, the Snitch is very legitimate without a doubt, so everybody was kind of keyed in on June 30th. But unfortunately, I do not bring news of a release date for God of War Ragnarok today, because it sounds like Sony had a change of plans at the last minute. This is according to Tom Henderson, yet another reliable insider, and he claims that an announcement was originally planned to be made today through a blog post, which is something that I continuously said on this channel that could not be ruled out. They could make the announcement through a blog post, and that very much appears to be the case, or at least according to Tom Henderson. He continued on to say that the blog post consisted of a collector's edition and a release date, though for whatever reason, Sony decided to delay this announcement, and the reason as to why is currently unclear. However, don't be confused by this announcement. This is not a delay for God of War Ragnarok, and by all indications, it's still indeed on track to release this year in 2022. Several reliable insiders have all claimed that it is coming in 2022, and more importantly, Cory Barlog himself said it has not been delayed. So just rest assured, they'll announce it in due time, whether that be through a blog post. Maybe they went ahead and delayed that for maybe a state of play later in the year. I mean, who knows by this point? But the truth is, I think that everybody just needs to kind of calm down. God of War Ragnarok will release when it releases. It's not the end of the world that you don't necessarily know the exact date as of yet. It is still being planned by 2022, according to, again, all indications. They'll announce it in due time, but the reason that I'm saying all this is because there are some people out there that are just taking this way, way too serious. There's people out there attacking the developers on social media. We've seen several developers respond by this point, and it's all just absolutely absurd. Fans need to just kind of calm down. Take a moment to realize that these developers are the reason that you're having fun in the first place. They're working hard to make these amazing creations for you. That's the reason that we're having so much fun. That's the reason we're talking about all this stuff today, because they've made these great things for us. So maybe appreciate them. By you crying online, that's not going to help anything, like absolutely anything. Do you think that that's just going to make them suddenly give you a release date? Do you think that that's suddenly just going to make a release date just pop out of thin air? No, that's not what's going to happen here. Now, I know the game community can be toxic and everything at times, but seriously, everybody just kind of take a breath. Everything's going to be okay. We'll hear about God of War Ragnarok at a later date, but just kind of take a step back for a moment. Let's go take a look at the poll of the day where I asked you all, has Xbox Game Pass introduced you to new types of games and genres that you previously might have missed before subscribing? And as you can see here, a massive 72% of you said yes, it's expanded the type of games I like, while 15% of you said no, I still play similar games as before, and then 9% of you said that you're not subscribed to Xbox Game Pass. So, the results here really kind of fits in with that narrative of Xbox claiming that Game Pass has introduced fans to new games and genres that they weren't playing prior to Game Pass. This is also why I do believe that more Japanese games are coming over to Xbox. I do think more and more Xbox fans are starting to play these type of games thanks to something like Game Pass, and that fan base is starting to grow. In fact, I saw some comments from you all that mentioned Game Pass introducing you to some Japanese games like Yakuza, the Xenoscape series, and Danganronpa, all three of which are amazing, by the way. Definitely go play those games. But then I also saw some comments point out games like Operencia, which, by the way, that's a great game as well. That's a game that I discovered thanks to Game Pass. And I've said it time and time again, but there are several games like that I might have missed on if it wasn't for Game Pass. Even next month, As Dusk Falls releases, which is kind of like this visual novel type of game with a unique art style. I don't know if I would have necessarily bought this game otherwise, but I'm genuinely looking forward to trying this game out thanks to, again, Xbox Game Pass. Now, not every game that I try I come away just absolutely loving, but there are a lot of great games that comes to Game Pass that's unique, and it just turns out to be an absolutely brilliant game. Dodgeball Academia, that kind of comes to mind. Artful Escape, that's a game that you all mentioned in the comments below. And really, the list just kind of goes on and on. Sure, Game Pass, it saves fans a lot of money, and that's a big benefit with those day one AAA releases, as we talked about earlier in the video. But this right here, this is one of the brilliant parts of this service. It really does just kind of expand the horizon for fans out there. So yeah, it's just a great part of the service. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode. But if you liked the video, don't forget the bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.